right? So do you think you want to try it?
Of course you try it now. Of course you do. You learn from your mistakes.
Okay, so what's the first thing we have to do? If you have no clue, let's do a couple of, generate a couple of examples with real numbers before we go with the, so, name a number.
4.
4. What would the other number be if the difference has to be 18? 22.
4.
Or you could have 4 here, and what could you have there? You could have negative 14.
14.
Most people wouldn't think of that. But anyways, what's another number you could have? Okay, 0. That is a good one. What would the other number be? You could have 18 or negative 18, right? It doesn't really matter as long as we know how we're generating it. So we have to decide, do we want x to be the smaller of the two numbers or the bigger of the two? It doesn't matter. Just designate it. So x is, we're going to say the smaller of the two numbers. What's the other number? So if this is my smaller number here, that's x. How did I generate this one? Sorry, this wasn't a smaller one. You have to look at this one. So how did we get that? X plus 18? So if this is the smaller number, I got that. If this is a smaller one, you could have it at x plus 18. Is the difference between the two 18? Yes. You could have had x and x minus 18. This is how it'll differ if you choose one to be the bigger and one to be the smaller. Does everybody see that? Because I picked smaller, the bigger number is going to be 18 more. If I picked x to be the bigger number, the smaller number would be x minus 18, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so it's suggested to pick the smaller number every time. Anyways, then it says the sum of their squares to be a minimum. Remember what y has to be? Y has to be what you're minimizing or maximizing. What are we maximizing? The sum of the squares. Okay, so y is going to equal, what's my first number? X, and I have to square it, and it's a sum, so I'm adding it to the second number, which was x plus 18, and I have to square it as well, the sum of the two squares. Yes? Okay, now the hard part, we got to FOIL this out here. Do you remember that this is x plus 18 times x plus 18? So y is going to equal x squared. First I get x squared. Outer I get 18x, inner I get 18x. 18x and 18x is 36x. Last I get 18 times 18. 324. Did you know that without a calculator? Very good. That's probably a reach for the top question, actually. You know so now we're going to combine y equals 2x squared plus 36x plus 324. Now we have to complete the square. We got to factor the 2 out because we can't have a 2 with the x squared. So in order to do that, we have to pull a 2 out of the 36x, which gives us 18x. Leave a space plus 324. Finish completing the square. What's half of 18? 9. 9 squared is 81, but it was 2 times 81, so what is that? 162? Do I add 162 to compensate or subtract? Subtract 162. So what's 324 subtract 162? 162, look at that. So my vertex is negative 9, 162. So, why is it negative 9? Because the form is x minus p, so my p must have been a minus 9 in order for it to be a plus, right? Okay, so now we need to find the answer. It says find the numbers. So what are the numbers? The smaller number is your x. So the numbers are -9. And how did I figure out the second number? X plus 18. The second number was x plus 18, so it's -9 plus 18. And 9. And you'll find, if you do enough of these questions, a lot of the answers for a lot of the things with area and things are squares. Like 9 times 9. Okay? Fencing an area. Do you want to try this one? You're not confident. Okay, a rectangular garden is to be enclosed by a fence divided into 3 smaller plots by 2 fences. So this is a little different than the last one. Find the dimensions of the largest such garden if 80 meters of fencing is available. So I'll show you what this is. It's a garden. Do we have a building or anything that's going to take one of the sides? A rectangular garden is to be enclosed by a fence divided into 3 smaller plots by 2 fences. That's the garden. And all that is the fencing. Does everybody see that's what the diagram would look like? Okay, so what did we do last time? What can we control? Does anybody know what the largest garden means? That would be a max what? Area. So we know y is my area. What is y equal to? Length times width. What can I control here? The width. So x is going to be my width here. Does everybody see I have a width of x, 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 and another x there. So I have 4 x's of fence I used. I have 80 left to use from. So I subtract that. And so I have 80 subtract 4x to be placed on 2 lengths. So what would that be then? I'll say that again. I started with 80. I've used up 4 of the x's. Does everybody see that? I got to place it in 2 lengths here. So what do I have to do to find the length divided by 2? So what is 80 minus 4x divided by 2? 40 minus 2x. 40 minus 2x. Let's add all this up and see if we have 80 out of that. Does everybody see the minus 2x's and the minus 2x's will cancel the x, 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 and x? That's that 4x's, did I say? And I'll be left with a 40 and a 40, which adds up to 80? Yeah? Okay, it should always work that way, right? Okay, so my area is going to be my length. What's my length again? 40 minus 2x times my width, which is x. Let's complete the square on our own. Okay, y equals 40x minus 2x squared. Rewrite it. Y equals negative 2x squared plus 40x. Y equals negative 2x squared minus 20x. Leave a space, yes? Half of minus 20 is minus 10. Squared is 100. Multiply it by that. I actually didn't add 100. I subtracted 200. How do I compensate subtracting? I add 200. So then I have that there. My vertex is 10, 200. What does the 10 represent? The width. What does the 200 represent? What does the 200 represent? It's the maximum area because it's the vertex. The vertex at the maximum, that would be the max area. We would have a whole bunch of areas going here, but at the vertex, it's the actual max area. So find the dimensions. Well, we know the width is 10. Does everybody understand when they ask for dimensions, they're asking for the length and the width? Or the length, the width, and the height if it was a volume? So the width is 10 meters, and the length would be is 40 subtract 2 times 10, so 20. Or you could have figured it out. The area was 200. If the width was 10, the length must be 20, because that's the only way it would work, right? Okay, moving on. Oh. Okay, profit income. So we just did one. Let's try it again. The market department of the 10-rack tennis company found that, on average, 600 tennis rackets will be sold monthly at the price of $100. The department also observed that for each $5 reduction in price, an extra 50 rackets will be sold. So what did I write out every time I saw a question like this? Revenue. Revenue is my Y, and that's equal to price times number sold, right? Yes? What was the thing that I can control? That's my X. And what is my X going to be? The number of $5 reductions. See? Do you see it's the same thing over and over again, right? Do you think you could come up with the equation? I'll give you a second to come up with it. So the price would be starting at $100, and it would be 5 times the number of reductions. And the number sold would start at 600, and it would increase by 50 rackets per reduction. Yes? So Y equals, first I get 6 with 4 zeros. Outer I get a plus 50 with an additional 2 zeros. Inner I get minus 30 with additional 2 zeros, X. And then last I get minus 25 with a 0, X squared. See, this is why you don't need a calculator, right? No, do you see how I'm doing it without a calculator? It's 1 times 6, and then 2 zeros, 2 zeros. That's how I got 4 zeros. Outer, I got 5 times 1 with 2 zeros, 1 zeros, 3 zeros. That's how you do it without a calculator. Okay, so then it's going to be minus 250x squared. Inner is 5,000x minus 3,000x, so 2,000x. And plus 60,000. Y equals minus 250 x squared. So anytime you see a 25, you should think of money and think of 25 cents, like quarters. So how many quarters would be in $2? You see, if I ignore the zeros, how many quarters would be in $2? 8. So that's how I'm getting plus, oh sorry, that would be a minus, because I'm taking out a minus. So minus 8x plus 60,000. Okay, then I do half of that. So x minus 4 squared is 16. So now this might be a little bit harder. Does everybody see that there's 4 quarters in $1, and 4 goes into 16 4 times, right? So what would 250 times 16 be? 4,000. You could also look at this as how many 250s would give you 1,000? 4, and then you have to get up to 16. So 4 times 4 is, I said that wrong. 4 times 1,000. So 4,000, right? So I'm actually subtracting 4,000, right? Right. So I have to add it there. So add 64,000. So my vertex is 464,000. Now let's answer the questions. What price will bring the largest monthly income? So what does this X tell you? Yes, it's the number of $5 reductions. So there's 4 $5 reductions. So remember the price was my first bracket there. Yes? So it would be $80 then. Therefore, the price should be $80. Okay. The next one, how did I get $80 again? Remember my formula, revenue is price times number sold. This is my price here, 100 minus 5x. If it's 4 $5 reductions, I'm subtracting 20 from 100. Okay. The next one, you hope I ask on the test because the equation is given and all you have to do is answer questions. So I'll give you a second to put it into completing the square form so that you have lots to discuss. Okay, h of t equals minus 9t squared, 108, 9 goes into there once, twice. So minus 12t. Yes? So then I get h of t equals minus 9. T minus 6 squared is 36. 36 times 9, 54, 27 and 5 is 32. So I actually minus 324, so that means I need to add 324. So my vertex is 6, 324. What does my x stand for? Time. It actually tells you that it's a height versus time. So my x value, or my t, is my time, and my 324 is the height, and this is a max for height and time, right? So what's the max height? It is 324. It doesn't actually say. We're going to say meters. It should actually say what units it's in. How long did it take to reach the max height? 6 seconds. Oh, here's a good one. Now, it would be 12, but that's because it started at 0, 0, and your maximum is like that. So it is, if it takes 6 seconds to get halfway, then it's going to take another 6 seconds to get to the end, to the ground again. Now, how would I figure out the height after 2 seconds? Yeah, you just substitute 2 in. And some of you that take physics probably know already how to do stuff like this, right? Maybe because you're in grade 11, you haven't taken a lot of the formulas yet in physics. But so you got to do 2 squared is 4. 4 times minus 9 is minus 36. Oh, I forgot to put a 2 here, sorry. And then 108 times 2 is plus 216. So what is minus 36 plus 216? So that's just subtracting, right? So you get 1, what is that, 180? So it would be 180 meters. How would I figure out the height after 10 seconds? I'm sorry? Substitute 10 in. H of 10 equals negative 9 times 10 squared plus 108 times 10. What's 10 squared? What's 100 times minus 9? Negative 900 plus 1080. Remember the trick for multiplying by 10 is just adding a 0, right? So what's 1080 and a minus 900? Essentially 1080 subtract 900. 180. So it's 180 meters again. Why would that be both the same? So if this is 12 seconds here and this is 2 seconds in, does that make sense that it would be at the same height at 10 seconds? Because it's a mirror image. You didn't even have to use that if you figured that out.